Inner peace.
Greetings and welcome to That Works, a DreamWorks podcast starring a happily unemployed photographer barely getting by with DoorDash.
Also damp.
A disgruntled ex-journalist now writing Scott Pilgrim fan fiction. And a spineless, asthmatic 27-year-old curmudgeon sweeping movie theaters for a living. And today we've got another great movie. Jake has brought up how I keep saying they're my favorites. Yes, this is another one. We got a nice run of movies here.
Basically everything but Shrek 3 is his favorite.
I mean, everything else is... wait
till we get
this
to...
is a hit.
Wait till we get to Boss Baby.
I'm loathing that day.
Dickey, it's not that bad.
Let's talk about a good movie.
It's not that
Let's
bad.
talk about a good movie, Jake.
This is one of the best movies.
This is one of the best movies.
This is one of the best sequels ever made. I said it. It's Kung Fu Panda 2. Hiya!
Coming in hot. Wow.
Inner peace. Inner peace.
Thank you, Jared. For those of you that are audio listeners, Jared dumped about a pitcher of water on me when I was trying to find my own inner peace. I did not find it. I found wet.
Rated PG.
You didn't do that in the last episode, did you?
I forgot.
That's the one point you missed.
Thanks, Jared. Because of you, I am so good.
Yes, Kung Fu Panda 2 came out 10 years ago, back in May. It is August right now when we've recorded
Holy
this.
Crap, this is 10 years old.
10 years old. I remember when it came out and, you know, coming off a very popular, very good first movie. It's even better, and I think it hasn't gotten as good of a rep as the other one.
Oh, no.
We'll get into that.
That has like a pretty average score on like Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, like you look at I put on all the scores,
70.
and it's just like the audience score is fine, and the Metacritic score is fine. Like, I know these are all just the subjective critic and audience scores, but the point is, like, this is pretty lukewarm.
Which one's first again?
I did not realize
the critic score I put first.
Yeah.
Okay. 81%, 74. Like at that time when I put this, just
this
the point
to be higher.
The point being, it's so good,
it is,
and it just doesn't get the recognition it deserves. Because some people are like, I thought it was fine. I'm like, how do you watch this and think it's just fine? Like,
you're entitled to your own views, but how?
It's so good.
The
emotions, the depth, the building off the first movie, a better villain. Like
setting up the third movie.
PTSD in our hero.
I'm pretty sure we were talking about this when we were talking about the first movie, was that this is probably like the best villain out of all of the movies.
Oh, yeah.
One of them. That'd be an interesting to do too.
Ooh.
I didn't see this in the theaters, but
I didn't either.
Can you tell me that the first time you watched that, you weren't pumped at the end sequence when it kind of revealed his dad in that...
oh, yeah. It's kind of a...
And then you're like, oh! And then the third movie just kind of goes and
that's a whole separate conversation. Try waiting 5 years for that when that's the last thing you see in this franchise. Because I didn't watch any of the TV shows, so it's like the last thing I saw is that, and then I had to wait 5 years.
And then you got what you got.
Yeah, which it's fine. Yeah, that's a later episode.
It's a different one. But.
So again, spoilers. We just spoiled something.
You haven't even gotten through the intro. We blew the end wide open.
Spoilers. 10 years old, kids movie, yada, yada, yada. Without further ado, Kung Fu Panda 2.
Give us the spiel, please.
Now, the Dragon Warrior. Po spends his time training with Shifu and running amok with the Furious Five, protecting the valley. When villainous Peacock Shen takes over Gongmen City and threatens to end Kung Fu with his deadly new weapon. I read that backwards. It's up to Po and the Five to bring balance to the world. Simultaneously, Po is dealing with traumatic flashbacks that link Shen to his past and where he really comes from.
Bum, bum, bum!
You mean he's not a goose?
Wait! Po's not a goose?
No. He's a silly goose, but he's not a goose. I can't reach. I'm too lazy.
Oh my god. You know, I can't even be mad. That was fun. I'll give you that.
Hey, man,
that was good.
you got What did he get?
I got the
Megazons.
Megazons. Yeah, so
Silly goose skadoosh.
skadoosh.
I love that catchphrase.
Who? In my heart, I want to believe that Jack Black just came up with that himself, but it was probably written for him. But I just want like Jack Black like. Would be a funny way
I
to
feel
say
like that's probably something. I feel like that's probably something that they let Jack Black do.
That's what I want in my heart. In my heart, that is exactly what I want. Oh my god!
Either that or the Panda was pretty much written for Jack Black.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Who wants to start?
Well,
This is your first time, right?
Yes.
Oh,
many
I've
times?
seen this
Countless times?
I won't say countless. Probably between like 5 and 10 times.
That's pretty countless.
Okay, it's a yeah
For a movie.
yeah. That's fair.
This is only my second time. Again, with the other one where I've seen a handful. This is his first time, and you've seen it multiple times. You know what? He started last time because it was first. You start this time because you've seen it 5 to 10 times.
100%. This is like I'm gonna say this because I'm gonna compare it to one of my favorite movies of all time. This is like The Empire Strikes Back. It takes what is perfectly set up in the first movie and deepens every single aspect of it. We just learn more and more about Poe, and then you couldn't do in the first movie because you have to introduce the character first. But now you can get into what drives him, what his little machinations are, like how he deals with his past. And it just does so well. I love how they tied in the villain to him. And I know Empire Strikes Back, guys. It's the Empire Strikes Back. It's the Empire Strikes Back.
Shen is Poe's father.
I know.
Bum,
No.
bum,
I
bum.
know. But I'm just saying. That's where I'm at. I relate this to the Empire Strikes Back. If I say that one more time, maybe it'll actually sink in.
Gotcha.
I mean,
Yeah.
we got you.
Building off the emotions you were saying, like the deepening of that. This is the second time I've seen it. I saw it again in class my junior year. They showed it on like the last day of school, and I had not seen it at this point. And I remember sitting there like, "This is so good. Why is no one talking about this?" And then I didn't watch it for 10 years because it's when something blows your mind like that, exceeds your expectations, and you have this like really like, you put it up on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. You don't want to watch it again because it's not going to be the same. I waited 10 years.
100%.
So watching it for this, it's like, I've given this a lot of high praise despite my peers not repeating those praises. Does this hold up?
Yes.
I almost cried 3 times. 3 times.
It is a sad movie.
And everyone's like, you almost cried watching Kung Fu Panda 2? I'm like, yes. Yes.
Yes, I did, and don't cry shame me.
I think the 3 parts were, 1, when he sees the full flashback of his mother leaving him, when it switches animation forms finally from the really cool 2D to the normal look.
My heart just sank.
And she runs off and they chase after. I was like, oh, there's something like when a character, I've talked about people about this stuff, when a hardened character in a movie shows that softer side that gets me. So there's this slight facial change in Tigress when Poe mentions something about like Shen was there the last time I saw my family, and you see the expression. It's real brief. It's just a little bit of a drop.
It's a
and she gives him a tiger hug, and I was like, oh. And then when he hugs his goose dad at the end, I'm like, why am I getting soft? What's going on?
It's okay to be soft.
I know, but it's like 3 times. I'm like getting close to crying. I didn't cry, but 3 times I'm like, I know this happens. I've seen this. Why am I starting? I know why. I'm just saying this out loud at the moment. I'm like, I understand it's been 10 years. You're older, but man, this is getting to me.
It is.
Before I keep rambling on, your first time watching, what did you think?
This is great. In fact, I liked it better than the first one.
Same.
Absolutely.
Without even having to give it like any afterthought, I liked it as it was going, which is not a thing I can say about a lot of movies that I like. That's a different conversation, but I honestly think that what's the bird's name again?
Shen?
Shen. Yep.
Honestly, I think that Shen is not one of the best, just the best DreamWorks villain we have or ever will see, because in a weird sort of way, like the way that Poe's backstory and Shen's backstory like mirror each other in a weird way. It's intriguing, it's engaging, it's a little dark.
It's pretty heartbreaking.
It is.
But your heart breaks for Shen too. So you watch that and you're like, I kind of feel like I might do that too. It's like if I was in that scenario, like I get it. I get it.
It's the Panda will be your downfall, and trudges headfirst into the very thing that will be his downfall, which is, I'm just going to wipe them out. It's like, committing genocide. Yikes.
It's really, it's just hard. I know you said this again, but heartbreaking. It's so sad. But it's able to balance that because it's so funny at other points. And it's really a really well. What's a graph that does this? Like high on both ends. Like the happy positive the happy positivity balances out like the sad stuff, and it just meets a beautiful. What's the thing where you weigh the things?
Jake, what'd you get your degree in?
Not math.
No, just
not geometry.
Go ahead. No, just tell us. What is it?
Journalism.
Okay, Dickey, what'd you get your degree in?
Film and video.
Okay. Jared, what'd you get your degree in? Film and video. None of us are math people. I don't know. A graph is a graph. Melman was a graph.
I'm just trying to remember. Like it's a graph or it's not a pendulum. Is it a pendulum?
It's a pit.
Anyway.
Sorry. I don't know. I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of it.
All right.
There's probably a math person sitting there like it is this. It is this.
We're idiots. Sorry, we're not smart.
You mathematically challenged boobs. That's what they're saying. They're like, what? Well, maybe not that exactly.
They might be.
The point being, like, I know what you're talking about. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah. Well, I tried. It was worth it.
Parabola.
Yeah!
Isn't that a story?
Dickey's presence has emboldened your bad puns.
We haven't filmed in a while. I gotta get back on.
It brings them all out. It really does.
You gotta hit rock bottom before you hit the top of the mountain. Something like that. Yeah. That's a parabola or whatever you
Parabola. Parabola.
Rake your forehead like this.
Why? What? Is there a bug?
No, it just looks weird.
What's on my forehead?
It might have been your hair. I couldn't tell.
There's a bug on me.
It looked like your skin was peeling.
Is his hair doing a parabola?
Several of them.
Anyway, yeah, I think it's...
Or like you had gotten some water on it or something.
It's called sweat. I'm fat, Jake. I perspire.
I'm fat too. I'm not perspiring like that.
It's hot in here. It's got to be 70-something. That's way too hot.
It's just a little perspiration. Everyone has a little perspiration.
You shut up. I dumped water on your head.
Yeah, there's a lot of perspiration.
You should be fine.
I'm wet.
It's 200% humidity today. Rated PG.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to make up for it because I forgot last episode.
They're going to be so sad when they see that.
Yeah. Anyway, the fighting.
The star of this trilogy are the action sequences. They are so good.
They're so, and I know we mentioned this one, the first one, but again, just like with the like him going through and killing all the pandas. Oh my god! Like it's just like the way it was shot, the way it looked, and it was 10 out of 10.
And that I'm gonna say it. This is probably their best third act. All their movies. Nothing builds like. There's just so many. It's like once they get to Gangman City, everything before it is fine. It starts a little clunky. Not bad. Just kind of like, okay, we're catching up to speed. Remember the first movie here? We're setting up the inner peace thing. Once they get there and like it's just building on these set pieces and you get to that ending after he's been cannonballed out of the city. Mm-hmm. It's like that's like you already have some great scenes with Shen where he's learning stuff. And then I love the thing where... Okay. The soothsayer, I forgot the word, is telling him, remember, he's fighting it because it hurts. And she's like, no, you got to let it hurt. This will not go away until you let it play out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the full thing. I start blubbering. And then it gets to the point where he comes back, it's now a trope where he's far away talking and they can't hear him. Like, you watch it now and you're like, okay, but back then, I don't remember many movies doing that where he's talking, he's, what?
Kind of like...
just everything with the boats.
My God.
And then Shifu shows up and it's awesome.
Boats.
And then the other two, who was it? I think it was Master Ox and Master Crocs. That's Dennis Haysbert and Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I did not know that was Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's amazing.
They're all fighting, and they jump up in the air, in that big pose. It's, I love you guys.
Oh my God.
Like, this is awesome.
I feel so happy.
And then they just get blown to bits. And then he juggles fireballs.
Like, it just...
I still love how he dodges the first one, makes this pose, his paw's on fire, he is surrounded by water, and he sticks it in his mouth. I go, water.
Why water when you can mouth? That's all I'm going to say, though. Why water when you mouth? Why water when mouth? You watered your mouth. Why water when mouth?
Anyway.
But yeah, no, seriously, everything about that end scene, like,
chills. I got chills.
It just... It's because the first movie, in like the first half, they did so much perfect groundwork. Like, they laid it perfectly that it just bounced. Like, it was like an avalanche of just building emotion and intensity and going for it. And
wow, there's the hype train.
that end fight scene is so dope.
It's so good.
It's so good.
I was scared too this time, like, is this going to be as good as I remember? Because I remember loving it.
Okay.
Apparently someone else loves it. And then when it started, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling it. And as it's going, I'm like, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
And you know what else? You know what else gets you feeling it? Is the score. The music is all the thing is just...
I think it's John Powell, isn't it?
I don't remember who does it, but it's...
But that sound right?
It's just so, like... Okay, I gotta calm down before I get any more words out, but it's just so vibing. It's so powerful. Oh, thank you.
I'm fanning him with the slate.
Is this the...
Woo!
This is the one with the wolves in it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
His hench wolves or whatever they're called.
Hench wolves.
Which I think Danny McBride is the boss. Yep, is.
That is really funny.
Yeah, it's a big cast as usual.
Yeah, it really is.
If it's one thing I wish was in the movie more, and it makes sense why he's not, I wish Shifu was in it more, because he's such an integral part of that first movie.
He is.
So he is kind of pushed to the back burner for most of the movie, but again, we get more of him in the third movie too, and he's...
Yeah.
Dustin Hoffman's always great.
Oh, he's always great. Go ahead.
I'm just not even going to say anything about that. Completely changing directions. It's interesting, the comparison you make to the Empire Strikes Back. Now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, they lay some really good it is good, because like the first one is going to work out fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the second one, similar to A New Hope versus Empire Strikes Back, like they set them in a situation where you're like, I really don't know if they're going to win this.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know.
They could not, like, we didn't know when they were coming out that they were thinking of doing a trequel, a trilogy.
Trequel.
Hashtag trequel.
Dickey math.
Yeah, I said that. Anyway, we didn't know they were planning on that, and so I'm just like, they could just make this 2 movies. This could, I don't think they would have it end like really sad because it's a kids movie, but stuff could happen. Like,
but what if that's the end? Speaking as a person who would have never. Speaking as a person watching it for the first time, Here we go. That could be the Dragon Ninja's story, or the Dragon Warrior's story, and fighting this ultimate peacock thing. That's what he is. Is that what he is? A peacock?
Mm-hmm. I put it. I think
like
I put it right there
or something.
Yeah.
We want to see his peacock.
That's a peacock.
Okay.
His peacock. Katy Perry song.
Dickey? No.
The Katy Perry song. Anyway.
Rule 1. Dickey does not sing.
But we saw the
Asterisk,
feedback.
Katy Perry.
Anything.
So I'm allowed to? Fine.
Electric.
Oh man, I just want to gush over this as much as I can. That's all I really.
It's
want
beautiful
to do.
too.
Oh, yeah, I was just about to bring that up.
Absolutely, like night and day from the first one.
It's very red. It's a very
It
red
is.
movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
Yeah, like the first movie is brighter because it is much more lighthearted. This one, that's the thing. People and critics have criticized this for not being as funny. And my thought,
I like that about it. I complained about the first one because it was like that.
I just remember thinking, like, I know it's a kids movie. I know it's supposed to be a comedy. There's still funny parts. Your biggest gripe is, well, it's not as funny. It's because we're doing character stuff and getting deeper and exactly. There's a reason why there's less comedy. It doesn't fit as much. There are places where it doesn't fit. All three movies have that. This one, I think, pulls it off the best because there's other stuff to focus on. Mm-hmm. And people are like, it's not as funny.
I understand.
I'm sorry.
The only thing is I can understand having those expectations because it is, while it was still incredibly made, it is still technically a kids movie.
With Jack Black.
So with Jack Black of anybody. So like I see coming into it just wanting a funny fight 'em up kind of thing. Like I understand those expectations. But
it's just funny how the biggest gripe, it's not with something with like pacing or character or story. It's not funny enough.
Yeah, it's
okay. Is that really a criticism?
It is
for this kind of movie.
I mean,
but it is a kids movie. Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
But the funny parts in this movie are really funny.
I think they landed great.
The whole sequence where they're going through the town at first
in the dragon, and
they're like eating the wolves and like
spitting them out,
pooping them out.
That was really funny. Like I really, really enjoyed that humor. Yeah, I don't know. Just with the expectations of having Jack Black, and after the first one, like we were saying, it had those comedy notes. I can see where people would want it. I understand you'd be upset. The reason that we like it.
I just feel because it's not only a kids movie and it's not only a comedy, it's also a kung fu movie. It's multi-genre, as the French say. And just when you have many different genres at the forefront, I feel like saying it's not funny enough is very just kind of a shallow criticism. Because if it's straight up just a comedy, what's a generic like Weekend at Bernie's is a generic 80s comedy. It's really dumb. Yeah. But, you can enjoy it for that.
It's fun because
But let's say someone's criticism of that was it's not funny enough. That works if it's like, this is that works. I get it. Its sole purpose is to be funny. It is a straight up comedy. And you can make your criticisms for that. I feel like for this, it's like, it's other types of movies too, which more than usual. It's not just one thing. So I think it's not funny enough is a very simple interpretation.
The only thing that I will counter that is just with expectations.
Again,
yeah. I mean, up until this point, there's not been a whole lot of like super serious, super deep, like this.
And especially when you're seeing this kind of stuff, it's not to throw shade, which I know Pixar does have a really good track record, but it's not as much like a Pixar or something like that.
Like, I do like it better than a lot of Pixar movies.
No, that's totally fair. I probably do. I think I do too. But I think they just I don't know, just going into movies, just not knowing that it's going to hit those notes. And then when it does, it's just like, I don't know.
I think that when people are going into a DreamWorks film, they are more expecting the kid sort of illumination sort of. Mm-hmm. And when you go into a Pixar, you're like, oh, well, this is for adults too.
Exactly.
And that's a misnomer by far.
I think it is too.
Because honestly, like when you look at the ones that I like out of this list, I like them a lot more than the ones of Pixar that I like.
Fair enough. And honestly, it's just the two that we're doing today, Kung Fu Panda and Megamind. I think those are both incredibly deep and incredibly personal movies that...
And yet totally different things, too.
Oh, 1,000% different things. It's just interesting how it kind of can really hit those deep notes with, like, compared to, like, the other DreamWorks catalog, like you were saying. It just...
Well, and if this came right after Megamind, too, like, think about that contrast. I don't know how right after it actually was, but...
May 26, 2011.
A couple months. It was November 2010.
So, that's a pretty deep contrast 6 months, in tone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is. It's 100% a very, very stark contrast.
Kung Fu Panda 2. I'm trying to find stuff to talk about because we've just been kind of just in love with the movie because I don't find really that many faults at all. It's one of their best. It's in my personal top 5 for DreamWorks.
The only thing that could make it better is if it was somehow a standalone movie, but I don't see how you could make it a standalone movie that would still work the way that it does.
It does. Honestly, I'm trying to obviously we're more invested in Poe because there's a whole movie before this. But in my personal opinion, if this was the first movie that I watched, not the first one, I probably would have been just fine with that.
I think one thing that I thought when I watched it was it feels like they made the first movie to make this movie.
Yeah.
Like a scenario where they had to make that, where they had to get the studio to let them make the characters before they could build the characters.
Which yeah, that makes a lot of sense because...
it's a shame that studios do that sometimes.
But it makes sense, though, as long as you can pull off each movie.
Yeah.
If they weren't able to pull off the first movie and then... Wow, could you imagine?
It's hard to watch. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, could you imagine if the first movie bombed and we did not get this? That would have been a...
Yeah.
That is the darkest timeline right there.
It would have just... We would have had Boss Baby a couple years earlier. It would have been fine.
I know Shark Tale. Actually, this doesn't sound so bad. Glub, glub.
God, how can you... No.
I will say, I think we mentioned
how can you not like Boss Baby?
That is an entirely different conversation. I was going to say, when we were talking about Shrek 2, I think one of us, it might have probably me, brought up what a good sequel does, building off that it's it has to build off the original, expand the world, deepen the characters, all that stuff, and it does all that. So because before it's just in that valley, and then Gangnam City, 1 looks great. It
does. It really does.
And 2, just expanding it to be I know we mentioned China as a whole country before, this takes place in an alternate reality of the real world.
Of course.
But when you expand it into that, and it's okay, there are bigger set pieces, and I think that's why the third one feels a little bit underwhelming because we go to this giant city in this one, and the third one we go to a hidden village in the mountains. Yeah,
that's totally fair. This feels like it has a little bit more of a broader impact on the entire civilization.
Yeah, a bigger scale.
Yeah. Which is why it's so impressive. It's because it's able to take that bigger scale, for its climax, holy crap, it's in a whole city. But when the majority of him struggling with himself is a small struggle. I like how it juxtaposed those two different things.
It's an internal conflict paralleled with the external conflict.
That's exactly what it is.
He's dealing with these random flashes from his past that he hasn't dealt with, and it's all triggered by seeing the logo on the wolf's armor. Mm-hmm. So he's dealing with that, and he's not telling anyone. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we have this big scale problem. So it's and they fit together. That's why it works so well. I know we're just we're just sitting here just praising this to no end, but it's true. When both those problems are connected and in a natural way, it just works so well. It's he's not going to fix the external problem until he fixes the internal problem.
Mm-hmm. Those just dual conflicts. I don't know how much. Let's just repeat ourselves. Just 20 minutes of saying nothing but just amazing.
Inner peace.
Until somebody dumps a pitcher of water over your head.
Hey,
I was pretty peaceful.
In fairness, that was only 2/8 of it.
That is.
Someone said put more water in it.
It didn't look like that much, Jared.
It looked like that much as it was going on your head.
Oh, it felt like a lot. I really felt all of it.
I was going to bring up a point about it feels like the scope of it. Usually in a franchise, each one I feel like the scope should get bigger. You build. Mm-hmm. This feels like a third movie, not in terms of what happens in the story because 3 can't happen without 2, and 2 can't happen without 1. But it feels like smallest scale feels like the third one, even though the first one does have a smaller scale. I don't know why.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
It's another episode of the podcast, but the third one definitely suffers because they pull it back.
Yeah, they bring back the humor.
And they pushed it somewhere. I just thought, and I don't want to get too much into this because for the third one.
It's basically, to sum it up without going into it, they shrink the scope. They bring back a lot more of the humor. They kind of scale his character back a little bit to make it's a little more kid-friendly, and I think I wonder if because of the reception of it, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I wonder if they like cut their budget or something.
Cut the budget, or maybe just they saw that.
Well, let's look at the budget.
150.
Yeah,
150 for this one?
Yeah. And then, I would be curious to see if they shrunk it at all. They probably...
No, yeah, it went down $5 million, and they made less money even.
I mean, $5 million, that's not that much of a budget, though.
No. The point is, I think because this one was so dark,
they
and
had
just much more mature, they thought, okay, even though it made a decent amount of money at the box office. It made a good chunk,
it did.
Even though it did, I feel like they probably thought, oh, we should probably pull back a bit because we pushed pretty hard, which is a shame because this movie is so good.
I know, but again, I can't blame them for thinking that way. Especially just because, like, the first one went from light and fluffy to, like, this one being so dark and serious. The third one had to meet it somewhere in the middle. You can't hit two heavy and serious movies back to back when it's a children's franchise.
Yeah. Again, this feels like the scope and the stuff they deal with feels like something in a third movie if you were building. The story can't work that way. And it is a good trilogy.
It's a great
really
trilogy.
good trilogy.
And
we'll get into more of that.
I really want to bring in more of the third one now, but yeah, it's just
like kind of like How to Train Your Dragon and Shrek. Like, you can't talk about one on their own completely. You have to bring in the others because they're a comparison
They
pieces.
feed in so well with each other.
Yep, and like the first movies stand on their own, yes. But once you get into the sequels, you have to talk about comparing it to the first movie and also what succeeds it.
Exactly. It's the meat of the sandwich. Like that's where you get the majority of your juiciness from is that middle movie. Then you have the nice fluffy bread on each end.
But
I'm saying the Kung Fu Panda trilogy is a perfect sandwich.
No, I said the butt.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said bread. What? Yes.
I thought you seemed what? Like waiting for your
there's no butt.
No, there's literally no butt with this.
There's definitely a butt. That third movie could be considered the butt. It's a good movie. But
I'll give you that.
Hey, the butts of bread taste good.
Hey, don't look down
ate
on
one of them today.
Yeah.
Don't look down on butts of bread because crust is amazing and butts have more crust.
Poe probably likes the butts of bread.
Exactly.
Look, what 3-year-old ever likes the crust on their sandwich?
Nobody does.
I did.
You did really?
What?
I did.
I mean, okay, let's consider what we know about Jared. That
sandwich,
just makes sense.
not all crust on everything, but like pizza crust I'd eat. A lot of people when they're younger don't like the crust. I like the crust.
I was specifically talking about sandwich crust.
Yeah. I wouldn't peel them off. I'd just eat it.
Okay.
Fair enough.
My niece, I had to cut them off. I couldn't just tear them off. I had to cut them off.
Of course, it has to be clean.
It had to be straight lines.
Obviously.
What kind of sandwich?
I think it was peanut butter and
PB&J?
Just get the frozen ones that you
heat up. Those Uncrustables?
Those are so expensive. And they're so good, chucked with sugar.
You're putting a price on your niece's happiness.
Yes. Yes, I am.
You are a horrible uncle.
When her mother tries to get me to get her to eat healthy. Well, at this point, get her to eat anything at all. But
I can just see you there, just.
Oh no, it's even better. Imagine because I had to do it with my gimp hand because I can't hold it with this.
So I'm going like that, just trying to get this crust off because she absolutely won't eat it with the crust.
She's very picky.
Yeah.
Now I think she'll eat it with the crust just torn off. Like now she might even just tear the crust off herself.
That's fair. But she would still eat a Kung Fu Panda sandwich. I mean, I think
she would be scared by this. I think I tried to show her one time. She was like, "No, please turn it off."
That is the thing.
It scares me.
Again, they probably felt we pushed the envelope. We got to pull back, which is a shame because, of course, as adults, we're like, "This is great."
Oh, I'm sure the adults ate it up, but that's a very good point. I wonder if this did not go over as well with kids at the time, just because
the fighting, Katzenberg.
Well, just because the fighting was so intense, and it was.
I mean, we are talking about a kids movie that includes genocide that's not even like hidden.
No, it's not hidden
even like
whatsoever.
well hidden.
They didn't try to beat around the bush. They're just like, nah, he was coming for him. Like, holy crap, that's a little intense. A little. Like,
he was cool too. Like, we talk about how good of a villain he is. He's not only menacing and funny, but he was pretty cool. Like with the little sword things he shoots, and he would fly everywhere and be like, "No!" And
one time I had a dream, and I was like, "Ah."
And And then yeah, and then that's
That's what you were thinking.
oh my gosh! We have to put a comparison of the two next to each other. and
then I jumped in this pool. It had the pudding and.
Oh my god! You know what?
Okay.
Got water. Well, this is.
If only you had that water on the fateful day of the chip choking.
See, you can't be telling inside jokes. No one knows what you're talking about.
All the people that watch this know what they're talking about.
The general movie theater. Yeah.
The generic movie-going
place that we once worked at that I'm not naming.
It wasn't a chip.
Anymore.
It was pizza.
Was
it jalapenos on it?
I thought you said it was a chip.
I thought it was chips or pizza.
No, I thought you were mentioning the thing where he threw the chip in his...
Oh, no. That's funny.
Oh.
But you didn't have to hit him for that.
No.
That was pretty much...
I don't have good aim. Especially in my mouth.
So, Kung Fu Panda 2.
Yep. That's...
Just
Come on. Fine. Rated PG.
Hey, there it is.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to draw any attention to it. So this is a very good movie. We've been praising it nonstop this whole time. It's great. Top 5 DreamWorks in my opinion.
Top 5 if not top 10.
Top 5. Top 3 maybe even.
It just proves that
maybe even.
This is really like close on that for me, like 5 to 6 mark. Like it's right in like that time.
I like it better than Shrek 2.
Yep. I like it better than Shrek 2.
I think it's a lot deeper.
It's a different kind of
this is probably 3 for me.
I think so far it's 3, for me.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of deepness. I feel like I would still put Shrek 2, Shrek 1.
This is going to be a bad sort of ranking episode, isn't it?
Not if he doesn't show up.
There's going to be like a supercut of Jared on the floor just wrangling to slamming his head on the ground.
Yo, summit, no!
Shrek 2 is number 1!
No. It's not.
Yes, it is!
No!
Yes!
That's a different
Shallow.
podcast.
He was shallow. I'm going to keep saying it. Shallow. Shark Slayer shallow.
Kung Fu Panda 2. Do we have anything else to say about it?
I think we hit the nail on the head.
You hit several times.
You hit the bow with the bow.
I think the nail is...
Shut up.
I think the nail is thoroughly embedded in the wood at this point.
Oh, it's probably driven through the wood and it's sticking out the other end.
That sounds dangerous and tetanusy.
Oh, it is. But I live for danger. This is getting weird. We should just cut it off here.
Our next episode.
What is our next episode,
We
Jared?
are looking at what it's technically a sequel. It's more of a spin-off of the Shrek franchise that a lot of people have forgotten about. Released in 2011, Puss in Boots.
Yep, that exists.
He got his own movie. Then there was a 60-episode TV show. And then we're getting a sequel in 2022. And we'll say more about it then.
But also, I want to
give the shout out. Yeah.
Yes, please give us a follow on all the good socials at Off Slate Media. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Constantly pumping out new episodes of this stuff. And I think we're pretty funny too. I think we're all right.
Yeah. So, for That Works, a DreamWorks podcast, we're signing off. We'll see you next time.
Bye. We gotta get this thought work going.
You're gonna try to make that a thing, aren't you?
Oh, you bet
you're just like one of those plastique girls, aren't you?
You're never gonna make. Oh my god, fetch a thing.
There we go. That's what it is.
I'm gonna make thought work a thing.
So I have some water now.
No.
You're
speeding.
Dare.
Indubitably.
Indubitably.
Yes.
Indubitably. Capital weather vessel.
Sweets. toot, sweets.
Don't forget.
Candy.
P-O-S-H. Posh. We are not even close to being qualified to be able to discuss that. Ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga ooga. Terrible.
That's a lot of water.